What is the most delicious thing you've ever eaten? I started considering this, thinking this would be a super hard question. But then the answer just popped into my head. The chocolate souffle at the Eiffel Tower restaurant in Las Vegas. Went there for New Year's 2011-2012, me and 7 other friends on a very small student budget for Las Vegas. Splurged on the New Year's Eve meal and got that souffle for dessert. Heaven. I don't think I'll ever go back to Vegas. I live in Sweden, which makes it a big trip. But if I did, it would be for that souffle. It's remarkable how relative to situation this is, even within each individual. I've done a lot of long-distance backpacking, and while I hate fast food, still fondly remember a Hardee's biscuit and coffee after a brutal stretch on trail. I also hiked about 100 miles of desert without enough water carrying capacity between water sources. The Gatorade I had at that next resupply blew my mind. It's hard to describe. I have never known thirst like that, and was better prepared moving on. At a Spanish beach restaurant, I once had a plate of chips fries for the non-Brits that were cut like thick, crisp chips for the non-Brits. They were the perfect midpoint between the two ends of that particular potato spectrum. Epic. Neither chips nor crisps, and also somehow both hot, crispy, and not too much so. I'm very fortunate to have traveled and eaten a lot of awesomeness around the world. But I can still remember every bite and how we marveled at the experience. A run-down building in a small Canadian town, but the view of the river and mountains was incredible. Walked in and the menu was typical burgers, pasta, etc., except there was a special duck section. The chef raised ducks and prided himself on using the whole thing. I ordered duck confit and crispy tongue. It was just stunning. I would make a point in stopping in if I was ever in the area. Restaurant didn't survive COVID, but I still think about that though. Roast beef sandwich with mustard, cheese sourdough bread from Whole Foods. My dad came home and told me I have half a sandwich, I didn't like it. There's mustard on it, but I'm not sure if you'll eat it. I tried it, and that's where my love for mustard come in. Now I have to eat my sandwich with mustard, and there's a specific brand of mustard I love. I wish you all to give it a try. It's called Plotman, original mild yellow mustard. So I went to Bangkok for Arctic Monkeys concert alone. Since I was traveling alone, I had a million of doubts about eating street food there, with the fear that what if I get food poisoning or something. I walked into a mall and spotted a Japanese restaurant and opted for an omakase 14-course meal. The sushis were the best I've had so far. I still think about it to this day, because I'm now back in India, and the sushis here are horrifying. I was in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Ukraine, and we drove through this tiny village. Maybe 15 houses and the church. They didn't have a store, and we were hours from any other civilization, and we were starving. We ended up getting fed by this 90-year-old grandma who has probably seen some shit. She gave us bread she baked that day. I swear to God, it's like I was lied to my whole life about what bread was supposed to taste like. Dunno. I did once order veal in a little Italian restaurant we visited to celebrate my father's birthday. I chose it partly because I didn't want just another standard pasta dish, but mostly to be a little edgelordy. My God, it was fantastic though. Incredibly tender and succulent. Would order again, but would make sure what I'm getting is red veal just to dial back that edgelord in me. Would recommend though. A few days ago, a local grocery store near me had big boxes of strawberries. I'd caught them at what must be the ideal part of the season ripeness. Each one was the size of a child's fist, and they were perfectly deep, blood red and shiny, no blemishes at all. I was cutting them in half and squeezing fresh lime onto each piece, and it would explode in my mouth with sweetness and tang. I don't know how to spell it, but about 10 years ago I was in Malaysian Borneo. I had Baku Day, which translates as meat bone tea. Feel free to correct me if I've got that totally wrong. I still dream about the bready 40 krauten type things you soak in the broth. Actually, most of the food I ate there was insanely good. The red bean paste pancakes are another fond memory. This hamburger from the Hard Rock Cafe in New Orleans. Every Hard Rock has a local dish, some food based off of the local cuisine. This one had a burger, and it had a rice patty in it along with the beef. Sounds super weird, but it was so good I started groaning as I was eating. A few people looked at me weird, but I didn't care. I was visiting my uncle and aunt in Mexico. They lived in a small ranch town where my uncle was placed as a missionary pastor. Anyways, one day I went with them to Viso, one of the elderly church members who lived across the river. She invited us in and offered us a coffee. The best fucking coffee I've ever drank in my entire life. We had a work party and coconut shrimp was in the offing. I liked coconut. I liked shrimp. But the combo did not compute. I tried it. To know about the most delicious ever. But it was all I wanted from the buffet after the fact. And is a memory I covet and think of longingly. Around 1990 we went on a choir trip for competition. After it was over we all stopped for lunch. Me and my friend decided to split a deep dish pizza from Pizza Hut. It was perfection. I've never had any food close to it. That was 34 years ago. And I still remember how blown away I was. This little side of the road restaurant in Karen Beach in Phuket. Totally unassuming place. They did a green curry and king prawns and nothing else has ever come close. Kobe beef in Kobe was a close second, but I'll remember this random little place and its curry for as long as I live. Most delicious, that's such a difficult one. I was drunk and won a bunch of money in Laughlin, Nevada, and then had the world's most perfect burger. Most memorable, spending the day making pot roast with my grandma, sharing it, and savoring every single moment of it. For dessert at a Chinese restaurant once I had a type of egg tart where the flaky must have been made with pork fat. The tart was warm, the filling a delicious custard, and the flaky, crispy pastry was fatty and decadent. It was so amazing. We took a way to long hike trip in the Austrian mountains. We were starving. Finally got Austrian meal which wasn't special at all, but due to the extreme hunger it tasted amazing. Never experienced hunger that way. Mont-Blanc dessert at a little family steakhouse with my wife after graduation with my doctorate. Had vanilla cream and white chocolate top coated in rum and flambé table side preceded by a perfect filet mignon. I had a lobster bisque at a restaurant in Florida that was heavenly. That's the first thing that came to mind. The next was mussels in a white wine garlic sauce with crusty bread in Venice. Mouth-watering. Both the green onion pancake and zilong bao dumplings at the night markets in Taipei were straight fire. I was dreaming about them when I came home, and pretty much all the other food I ate in Taipei. Had burnt ends for the first time in Kansas City. Friend's brother invited us down from Nebraska, and holy hell, it's like 15 years later, and it's still the best thing I've ever had. It is called the Christmas Parade. It is a gingerbread crepe filled with eggnog pudding and gingerbread cookies. It is only available in December at a local crepe place. One year for my birthday, my wife bought me 5 quarts of raspberries. You have less than 24 hours to eat them. BMO, there is no finer taste than perfect raspberries. Risotto fungi in a restaurant near our biggest university. In some kind of street with many pubs and bars. That restaurant closed due to the lockdown. A Georgian dish called chakapuli. Imagine a lamb stew, but like 75% of the stew is herbs like tarragon and coriander. The liquid is mostly white wine. Oh my god. A skirt steak marinated overnight with Allegro marinade and seared over charcoal for 5 minutes on each side, then topped with chimichurri. I made this for my wife and she said yeah, I'd marry you again. The Thurman Merman from a food truck at Ponaru with a motherfucking egg on it. A culinary masterstroke. If you know, you know. This one particular cheesecake I had in San Sebastian, Spain. I still dream about it, so creamy and delicious, just incredible. Was a piece of salmon from an Indian restaurant in Perth. They did something with the skin crust that was just sensational. Steak cooked in truffle butter and topped with blue cheese. Cooking a steak any other way is a waste of a steak. Lunch. In this restaurant in Lyon, France, I ate a pasta dish at a place in Nashville that was made with Mizithra SP cheese. It was amazing. Fish dishes at my grandmother's place. I think it's the nostalgia and comfort of childhood as well. This schnitzel with the cheese and wine sauce I had at a tiny restaurant in a small town in Germany. Seared foie gras. It's the most indulgent food you can possibly imagine. Like meat butter. Just the other day my girlfriend made this lime-flavored cheesecake and it was spectacular. A meal. A succulent Chinese meal. Ooh, that's a nice headlock. I see you know your judo well. My dad's brisket. I need to get the recipe off of him so I can have it more often. The combination of rich chocolate and the creamy, molten center was simply divine. Roasted duck in this little cafe in Paris. I asked if I could kiss the chef. A well-made goat curry is hard to beat. The real answer is pussy though. Leftover soup. It's the best thing about roasting a chicken on Sunday. The battered and fried shrimp I cook and then toss in hot sauce. Chocolate-covered crepe from a street vendor in Paris. Heavenly. Fried oyster po' boy at Acme Oyster House in New Orleans. Jack-in-Box tacos, that's my going to the chair last meal. Real answer, a good brisket. Joke answer, your mom.